Doug has more than 35 years' experience in agriculture and horticulture. He is the founder and CEO of TerraMax, and they are committed to bringing effective and economical microbial delivery systems to the agricultural and turf markets. Please help me in welcoming Doug Kremer to the stage.
Thank you, Luke. It's good to be here this morning, and I appreciate the opportunity to share some of our perspective with everyone. I'll try to stay by the microphone, but I'm a pacer, so it's what I get to talk about today is some of our perspective on microorganisms and how we can use them. Very good introductory comments. I want to echo a lot of them. We are not a company that says you're going to replace how you do farming with microbes. We say we're building more tools. We're building the tools to help you be more efficient and help you accomplish your goals. In our lifetime, and I want to give you a little preface on this, I was fortunate enough to be also part of the genetic engineering revolution. So I see a lot of comparisons between working with microorganisms and how the marketplace is starting to see what that promise can be when we can harness those things. So as a smaller company and an entrepreneur, I hope we all don't end up in the same large company someday. I enjoy the smaller ones, but I see that same kind of excitement, that same sense of discovery. I wanted to have a couple of examples of how I get excited about those. So Gloverson, I have to thank you because these 2 points feed right into that, in my opinion. Back in the early 80s, Don Huber did some work on Triticale disease in wheat. And they thought they had a biocontrol. In fact, they did have a microorganism that could be used for biocontrol of Triticale in wheat. As they studied it more, as they used it more, and now it's fairly common knowledge, that microorganism had a positive impact on that plant growth because it helped make manganese available to the plant. Okay? So early on, we start getting examples of specific nutritional needs of a plant and how that can impact plant growth. And that can go across the board as we're finding out, as more work is done. Another one that just fascinated me is some of the work done on the human microbiome. And that is, they were looking at the microbiome of elite athletes. And what makes them elite, other than they train really hard? Many of them have a microbe in them that will break down lactic acid. So if you've worked out and you've gone, there's actually a microbe that can break that down, right? And now they're asking the question, is it the breakdown of lactic acid or a byproduct of that that has the impact? But we are learning, because we are building tools that allow us to see, we're learning how these microbes are ubiquitous. I had some other examples, including microbes in your eyes, but I don't want everybody to go, so. But then, what's bacteria and fungus? There's a whole body of work that is looking at where we find bacteria. And they've done some work with various types of fungi. And they see today that these fungi can carry bacteria with them, right? And so what we thought were possibly the pathogens may just be the doorway. So a lot of really scientifically fascinating things. Then it's our job to grab some of those things and see how we can commercialize them. So when we commercialize, and I like to think of this as an industry, right? I mean, part of my history of the genetic engineering business, we were small entrepreneurial labs spaced around, and everybody's focused on technology development, and it was a lot of scientists running a lot of companies. It doesn't always work. So you have to bring business to bear on this situation as well. But I take a product viewpoint of this, and I think, and we've heard a couple of things. I appreciate the snake oil comments, right? We all should. There are things out there that people use and pay money for that we can't always explain. And how do you tell a farmer to complete snake oil when he had the most amazing thing happen this year? And you don't want to be, the downer, and you want to say, wait till next year. But oftentimes that's the case. So as sellers of these products, we have a responsibility to help build an industry perspective, right? And make sure that we function first. It has to work. If it doesn't work, and doesn't work as you describe it, you're not in for the long haul. Sound science. Sound science doesn't answer every question, but it helps us build towards that answer. It helps us say, this is your expectation in this area. This is your expectation in that area. And they're not always pretty pictures, but those are the pictures, again, that we have the responsibility to put together as well as we can. Meets existing use practices. I don't have enough time to share all my experiences, but I learned that one. I learned that one the hard way. You want to be able to plug into how the farmer is doing their job today, whether that is by treating the seed, or having an economical formulation, or by having a formulation that they don't have to worry about having a refrigerator on their tractor, right? Well, however that is, you've got to meet that existing use practice. I find that it's difficult enough to stand in front of a group of farmers and a group of people and say, believe me, those things you can't see have an impact, right? So as they see the impact, they begin to believe that, and they see it. And the overriding thing, I think, for any of us in business, whatever that is we have to provide a return on investment. So as cool as the technology is, as impactful as it may be in terms of yield or plant health, we have to return to the bottom line. And if we do that, and we do that at the last level, which is the grower level, and we're structured appropriately, we'll do all right. We'll build our businesses. Some of these are redundant in terms of other companies. They don't necessarily make us special. I'll point out the one I think does. How we work with them, we identify them. We don't want snake oil. We don't want to wear that hat. And 21 years ago when I started the company, somebody bought me that hat. I still have it. I don't wear it. But we identify these strains, okay? And there are various places you can go as well as isolate your own. There are places where you can access these strains. But you start off with somebody you know, basically is what that is. Then you select or screen for the specific activity. Phosphorus solubilization, I believe we saw that in Antonio's slide deck. Phosphorus solubilization, you can literally do a first screen on a Petri plate, right? And it clears the Petri plate so you can, oh, hey, that one's doing what I think it should do. There are other things you do further on that are more stringent measurements to ensure that that's the case and give you a feel for the quantity of reaction. But you have to be able to see it again, right? You got to be able to select those things. So there's also, so that's screens, and then you can have the opportunity to actually do what's called selections, and that is maybe screening for enhanced activity or being able to push that activity along. Then the one that we think is unique to TerraMax is that we've figured out a way to what we call stabilize the bacteria. And quite honestly, that's a process that increases survival and increases longevity. And I'm not here to tell you all about that, but there's some temperature variables that it helps buffer, a number of those things. And when you're dealing in fresh produce, when you're dealing in live microorganisms, we still have to be concerned with that they get to the marketplace in a fit condition. And that is what that is all about. That you cannot expect to have a product or a bacteria do what it is known to be able to do if it's not alive. So then, and this is directly to the snake oil comment, effective and consistent. You have to be effective in the field, you have to provide that return on investment, and you have to do it consistently. This is where my sales team gets angry with me some days. Biology doesn't work 100%. We are going to have failures. There are failures in the field, not related to our products, but we have to be able to consider those things. This is just a graph illustrating survival of Bradyrhizobium. With the stabilization process, we were able to put it in 15-gallon kegs. And this is an independent laboratory's numbers. We do generate these in our own laboratory, but you can see it may be a little small. The measurements started on May of 2014 and they end in June of 2016. So we maintain the titers, the CFU counts, if you will. Another example of consistency, this is an example, the majority of this work, this is a dry seed-applied product of Azospirillum. I'm not sure who asked that question earlier, but the Colorado and Nebraska data points were all done by Colorado State University and University of Nebraska-Lincoln. This is an example of value. This is some work we did in association with Beck's. This happens to be in furrow-applied products, Azospirillum again, in corn. But over 3 years in their various trial locations, we had an average of $15.61 return on investment. Okay, so again, it's very important, these pieces. This is a little bit about the future work. The biological nitrogen fixation is a very interesting tool. We have tons to learn about it and how to apply it. Typically, it's a very slow process. Think of it as slow-release nitrogen. Right? So my opinion, our opinion at TerraMax, we're going to need multiple sets of these things operating on the plant if we are to make an appreciable dent in applied nitrogen. Remember, I'm for building tools. So I want you to apply nitrogen if you need it. And if we can figure out how to make that where you don't, all the better. So, and I won't go into the data sets, but I did want to bring them out. This is again corn, and what we're doing is, and this is just Azospirillum, the previous slide was combinations of nitrogen-fixing bacteria. We're looking at how it interacts at different applied fertility levels, because that's going to be important. When we talk about feeding the world in nutrition, and for those that know me, sometimes that one knocks me off a little bit, but we want to look at providing appropriate nutrition for people, right? Not to tell them what to eat, but what do we really harvest off the land? Protein per acre is a way to be able to look at that and measure that. And what we've found in repeated trials with Azospirillum on various plants, this happens to be winter forage Triticale, and we consistently see a rise in protein. We see that in wheat as well. We've actually seen it in corn, which really surprised me. We believe that's because of the slow release nature. So the consistent release of nitrogen for that plant to use is why we're seeing those bumps. Market directions. Clearly, nitrogen-fixing bacteria gets everybody's attention, not only for environmental impacts, but financial impacts and how a farmer needs to use that tool to grow a successful crop. Nutrient availability, this gets into that phosphorus question. And there are other elements, right? Iron, for example. There are examples, manganese, the Don Huber example. And then biocontrol opportunities. As a company, we're a little small company, so we don't do a lot of biocontrol. We do keep our finger in that game, however. So, just a touch, I kind of did it backwards, just a touch about the company. Founded in '98 with a focus on microbial products. We do sell worldwide. Products go into both conventional and we have organic. We do serve the organic market of it. You know, it's microbes, it's good. There are specific formulation needs in that marketplace, so, but we're there. The proprietary stabilization is involved in almost all of our products and scientifically evaluated. We just moved in August. So this is a picture of our new facility. the building, upstairs where many of the offices are, production, and one piece of the lab. With that, thank you.